Then only Anabina and Oscillatoria we have already discussed. Am I right? So in the process, the one of the topic in the part of the blue green alga cyanobacteria, that is the biofertilizers. Okay. Okay, I will share my screen. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so today is the 17th December. Am I right? 17th December. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So today our topic is one of the most important and very easy topic and very interesting topic, that is biofertilizers. Okay, biofertilizers. In this topic, we are going to discuss about what are the objectives of these biofertilizers and the introduction and how which type of biofertilizers in present scenario we have. At the same time, so types of the biofertilizers and methods how to inoculate or application these biofertilizers, how to application in the different fields, and what are the advantages of the biofertilizers. Along with these advantages, what are the disadvantages of biofertilizers and constants in biofertilizers. So these are the topics we will going to discuss today's topic. Okay, now we will move on. What are the objectives of today's topic? So, whenever after completion of this class, after going through this class, you will be able to learn what are the biofertilizers and what are the characteristic features of the biofertilizers, and understand the prospects of biofertilizers, and how to prepare the biofertilizers, and what are the consequences or what are the difficulties to prepare of these biofertilizers, and how to select the low cost or even though suitable and efficient biofertilizers for your organic farming. So biofertilizers and organic farming for sustainable agriculture. So in this scenario, so what are the prospects and the difficulties of the biofertilizers, and what are the characteristic features of the biofertilizers, we will going to discuss today's topic. And generally, are you ever seen about the biofertilizers? Are you ever heard the term biofertilizers?
Yes, sir. We
Yes,
have
sir.
Generally, generally, generally we know, but somehow the in depth of knowledge we will going to do. So today's class. Okay. So generally in our agriculture or in our present the cultivation of the crop plants get very improvised after long-term cultivation if not supplemented properly with inputs. Generally, farmer what he was doing or he is doing continuously cultivation of different crops. We know that we are absorbed so many manures. So they are inorganic manures like chemical fertilizers. They are applied of their different crops of their land, but they are nothing but the supplements or nutrients for the development of the crops, for the growing of the crops, for the different developmental stages of the crops. Generally in the developmental stages of the plants, especially in vegetative growth period, nutrients is very essential for the uh, growth. At the same time, even though the flowering stage or the yielding stage, definitely nutrients is compared to the primitive stages the necessary more than quantities are required for the developments of the plants. Okay, at that time our farmer is simply they are applied or they are using these chemical fertilizers like urea, ammonia, superphosphate, like that. But that is Yeah, in the previous class we are discussing, eutrophication. I hope you remind the class eutrophication. Am I right? Eutrophication. Yesterday class, eutrophication is one of the water pollution, one type of water
Yes,
pollution.
sir.
The excess of mineral nutrients are reached the water body or the stagnant water, then automatically the pond water is unable to utilize. They are not usable. They are not used for domestic purpose. At the same time, the aquatic flora and fauna is going to harm or going to die just because of the eutrophication process. Eutrophication means in the farming or in the cultivation time, the excess of the nutrients or whenever the chemical fertilizers are applied by the farmer at the time, by the heavy rainfall or by the they are using the water. They are different methods, water harvesting methods. In that time, these minerals, excess of minerals, reach the water body or stagnant water. Then automatically the water body is going to turn it into bluish, blue-green color. We already discussed. So that is nothing but eutrophication. So that eutrophication goes to the water pollution, this harm to the ecosystem. Okay, in that scenario, these biofertilizers, the biofertilizers is emerging for the sustainable agriculture, for the sustaining environment. Am I right? So it is necessary to implement a balanced, responsible use of organic agriculture, not chemical fertilizers, my dear friends, organic agriculture. Nowadays, Patanjali, we heard some of the terms, organic farming or organic pesticide, organic vegetables, organic, what we can say, that paddy. We heard. Am I right? So this organic agriculture is also present scenario is most prominent term. The principles of organic farming also outline the similar concepts where the soil health. So soil health is also very, very important. At the same time, ecosystem, balanced ecosystem, and the biodiversity is also. So causing of the harmonious biodiversity or the biodiversity is increasing of the biodiversity, or the loss of biodiversity or deplete the biodiversity, the decreasing of the biodiversity is very, very important. So we have to conserve the biodiversity. We have to conserve the nature by the usage of the organic manures or organic farming for the cultivation of different crops. Okay, so this is a built up, a sustain the plant growth in long term, not a short term, my dear friends, for the future generations. For future generation. Then after these objectives and introduction, the definition. So what is biofertilizer? How these biofertilizers, the term has emerged. So that itself, name itself, self-explanatory. Bio means life. Some of the organisms, they are microorganisms. They are minute. They are very minute organisms. They are involved, are used as a fertilizer. Am I right? So this is nothing but self-explanatory. So biofertilizer is ready to use. So life formulations such as beneficial microorganisms, so which on application to seed, not only the soil, root, okay, soil, even though the mobilize the availability of nutrients by the biological activity. The biofertilizers can help microflora, okay, and thereby even the soil health also. Soil health. As we know, organic farming excludes the use of any chemical. Excludes any chemicals. So this use of these biofertilizers is recommended for improve the soil fertility in organic farming. What we can say, soil fertility in organic farming. For then is a simple form of this classification of the biofertilizers just given below, my dear friends. The biofertilizers for nitrogen purpose, the biofertilizers for phosphorus. The fertilizers, biofertilizers for enriched compost. So for nitrogen, we are use rhizobium for legume crops in Fabaceae members or Leguminaceae family members like green gram, Bengal gram, soya bean. Okay, so Arachis, hypogaea. These are some of the crops belongs to Leguminaceae family members. So rhizobium cultures are very suitable for the fixation of the nitrogen from atmosphere. At the same time, Azotobacter is or Azospirillum is another type of bacteriums which are associated with non-leguminous plants. But rhizobium is associated with Leguminaceae family members. It is a symbiotic association. At the same time, the Azotobacter and Azospirillum also they are also symbiotic associated with the non-legume crops like ulnas, like grasses, like other crop plants are Graminar Poaceae family members. And even though the Acidobacter is one of the bacteria which are also used for sugarcane only. Along with this bacterium cultures, the blue-green algae that in earlier we can call as BGR blue-green algae, now we can call as cyanobacteria. So the cyanobacteria members belongs to Azolla for lowland paddy. Azolla. Yesterday we have discussed, Azolla. So Anabina, Azolle. So Anabina is associated with Azolla leaf cavity, So this is the one type of symbiotic association, At the same time, for the phosphorus, especially the phosphatic for all crops to be applied with rhizobium, azotobacter, and the azospirillum. This is azo. This is azo. This is azospirillum and acetobacter. Okay, azospirillum. At the same time, VAM fungi. VAM means vesicular mycorrhizal fungi. So these are fungi. These are belongs to fungal groups. So this is one of the best suitable for the phosphorus. Insoluble phosphorus is very easily soluble phosphorus, soluble type of the phosphorus. Okay, so these are the best example for the phosphorus biofertilizers used as a biofertilizer. At the same time, the enriched compost. And generally, the all different organisms or the plant cell wall is made up of cellulose, So the cellulitic fungal culture is also celluloidal fungal culture is also suitable for the growing of or enriched compost. Even though the phosphatica and azotobacter culture is also very suitable for the enriched compost. Okay, then we will going to clearly explain about the types of the biofertilizers. The first one is the nitrogen fixing biofertilizers. So in previous, what we can say that nitrogen, phosphorus, and compost, So the nitrogen fixing biofertilizers, mainly this nitrogen, actually nitrogen is present in which place? Nitrogen, it is a gaseous element, Nitrogen is a gaseous element which is in molecular state. What state? Molecular state. So this molecular state, nitrogen, so two atoms is between two nitrogen atoms, so 3 hydrogen bonds are there. So this is the molecular state of the nitrogen which is present in the atmosphere. How much percentage? Anybody? How much?
78%.
28.
78% of the nitrogen gas is present in the atmosphere. This is the highest amount of the gas, substance. It is a molecular state which is not usable form of the nitrogen of all higher plants. Only microorganisms can ability to fixation of this nitrogen from atmosphere to different forms like nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia like that. So these nitrogen fixing biofertilizers, the best example here, whether they are non-symbiotic associated or free living bacteria, or whether they are belong to symbiotic, whether they are fixation of the nitrogen symbiotically, whether they are non-symbiotic, that is nothing but free living bacteria, is also involved for fixation of the nitrogen. Some of the members is asking me, sir, how these bacteria can able to fixation of the nitrogen from atmosphere? Yes, you are right, my dear friends. Just because of these prokaryotic living organism is having the special type of mechanism that is the nitrogenase enzyme. So these nitrogenase enzyme or NIP genes are responsible for the fixation of the nitrogen from atmosphere. Okay, so if the bacteria, whether they are different crop plants, they are symbiotic association. They are forming the nodules. Nodules are the roots, like leguminous roots. We have easily identified with our naked eye. Whenever our groundnut, whenever we pull from the soil the groundnut root is having the number of root nodules. So the root nodules is the best example for the symbiotic association with leguminous roots. At the same time, these nitrogen fixing bacteria like Rhizobium leguminosarum bacteria. At the same time, the free-living bacteria is also present in the atmosphere. The free-living bacteria, which is not associated with any other living organism, any other plants, but they are capable for the fixation of the nitrogen from atmosphere. But the best example, if they are Azospirillum or Azotobacter. Okay, so now let us examine the features of these microbes in detail. Okay, so Rhizobium culture, we are going to discuss about the Rhizobium. So Rhizobium leguminosarum is the best example for the symbiotic association with leguminous plants. So this Rhizobium is one of the best example of the nitrogen fixers or biofertilizers, bacterial biofertilizers, which is associated with the leguminous. And leguminous roots, they are forming the nodules. So this bacteria name is Rhizobium leguminosarum. So this is first established by Frank in 1889. Frank. So this genus has 7 distinct species based on cross-inoculation group concept. How many distinct species, my dear friends? 7
distinct species.
Seven distinct species. Seven distinct species based on the cross-inoculation group concept. More than 20 cross-inoculation groups have been established so far. A new classification has been established for Rhizobium leguminosarum. So whether they are slow-growing leguminosarum, if they are slow-growing leguminosarum, that we can call as brody Rhizobium. If the group belongs to fast-growing Rhizobium, that Rhizobium we can call as Rhizobium, not brody Rhizobium. That is Rhizobium. So this Rhizobium belongs to which group? Fast-growing Rhizobia. So brody Rhizobia belongs to which group? Slow-growing. So still this classification is directly not distinguishable because the bacteria is one of the infect to another group. So this is called the principle of cross-inoculation. The principle of cross-inoculation, which relies on the assumption that legumes particular infection, the group may be nodulated by of nodule forming bacteria. Generally, the Rhizobium bacteria is associated with the leguminous, so that's why the legume root nodules is just because of the Rhizobium leguminosarum bacteria. Some of them are also non-leguminous plants like ulnus. Ulnus plants is also these bacteria can able to produce the root nodules on the ulnus plants. Then, what are the methods are applying for these Rhizobium inoculations? So different methods, seed treatment. So the first one is seed treatment. Okay, it is also the suitable method for the Rhizobium inoculation. Some adhesive is used to make proper contact between seeds and inoculants like bacteria. Seeds and bacteria. So this is the very, very important for proper contacts between these two important living organisms, or even though using material. So seeds and bacteria. So about 900 gram soil-based cultures is sufficient to inoculate the seeds for an hectare area in case of legumes. If 10% of jaggery, have you ever heard jaggery? Jaggery solution, Bellam. Okay. So this Jaggery solution is used for sticker for rhizobium cells to seeds. So the Jaggery is the best absorbent, or it is nothing but attach. This rhizobium is easily to attach on the surface of the seed coat. So that's why the Jaggery solution is used. The first solution is spread over the seeds and mixed to build up a thin coat over the seeds. After ascertaining and the proper coating of slurry over the seeds. Amma, any doubts? Are you follow?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are you feel bored?
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Very good, my dear friends. Very good. Nice. Then the inoculant is sprinkled over the seeds and the content is again mixed thoroughly. The content is directly shared by spreading a thinny on a polythene sheet at least overnight. One night. Okay. Then this is a free living or non-symbiotic bacteria, thus does not in nodules but make association by living in the rhizosphere. So Azospirillum species established. These Azospirillum species non-symbiotic, non-symbiotic associated bacteria. So this is associated many plants, particularly with sea plants such as maize. So sea means grass plants. Sea means grass or graminate plants. Maize, sorghum, and sugarcane. This is belongs to graminar poaceae members. Are poaceae member grass plants. We can also these plants we can also call grass plants are graminar poaceae family members. So these are associated with Azospirillum. This is a non-leguminous plants. The maize, sorghum, sugarcane belongs to not non-leguminous plants. These are graminar poaceae family members. So these are associated with this Azospirillum. But it is the most common organism and can form associated with symbiosis on large variety of plants. So Azospirillum is recognized as dominant soil microbe. Very, very important, my dear friends. Compared to Rhizobium, Azospirillum is the dominant soil microbe. So which is present in the abundant in the soil. Am I right? Then the other important biofertilizer, that is what is that? BG.
Blue-green algae.
Green algae. Blue-green algae is the primitive form, primitive name, but now we can call it cyanobacteria and myxophyceae or cyanophyceae. So the cyanophyceae members or blue-green algae are the myxophyceae members is very, very important in the field of the biofertilizers. These are the very dominant to fixation of the nitrogen from atmosphere. So these are the very another important class of the biofertilizers, like bacterial biofertilizers. Compared to bacterial biofertilizers, blue-green algae is also dominant for the fixation of the nitrogen from atmosphere. These are also used as the biofertilizers. Blue-green algae members like Nostoc, Anabina, Oscillatoria. We have already studied, So these are also used as the biofertilizers. Some of the friends is asking me, sir, how we can use these blue-green algae as a biofertilizers. Just because of yesterday we have discussed, heterocyst, one of the special type of cells we are absorbed in the vegetative, among the vegetative cells, the shape or the size is compared to vegetative cells is larger and they have polar nodules. Okay, so these blue-green algae, the small organisms can be seen under the microscope as a single cell. So my dear friends, generally the blue-green algae members are unicellular members or the filamentous forms, filamentous forms. So these filamentous forms, blue-green algae members, the best example, Nostoc, Anabina, Oscillatoria. Then unicellular or single cell organism of these blue-green algae member are the Gleiocapsa. But we can say that this is Gleiocapsa. Gleiocapsa is the unicellular organism of the blue-green algae. Remaining thallus or remaining members, they are filamentous forms. The filament may be branched or unbranched. If they are branched, they are two branch or pseudo branches. We are observing the blue-green algae members. Okay, so these large accumulation cells we can also call as colonies. Some string cells we can call as trichomes. So these similar external appearance, these algae and azolla growing in a pot, the requirements. Amma, any doubts? So
No,
these are
sir.
also required for light, nutrients, even though the carbon dioxide also for similar plants like plants. Okay. Then Azotobacter. Azotobacter is the another free living type of bacteria which is also used for the fixation of the nitrogen. Some of the member is asking me, sir, how blue green algae is able to fixation of the nitrogen from atmosphere? Just because of, my dear friends, just because of heterocysts. What we can say that heterocyst. Heterocyst is the larger cell compared to other vegetative cells. This heterocyst is able to fix the nitrogen from atmosphere. So this heterocyst, inside the heterocyst, the empty space we are observing, in this empty space, the nitrogen fixing mechanism is present inside the heterocyst. That mechanism we can call as a special type of enzyme is involved in this mechanism, that is nitrogenase. What we can say that? Nitrogenase enzyme. At the same time, this nitrogenase enzyme under the control of NIF genes. Which genes? NIF genes. So NIF genes means nitrogen fixation genes. NIF genes means nitrogen fixation genes which are present inside the heterocyst. Am I right? Then some of the members is asking me, some of the students are asking me, sir, why these NIF genes or nitrogenase enzyme is present inside the heterocyst or prokaryotes? These are only present prokaryotes, but does not possess any. All higher plants are eukaryotic living organism. This is a very, very important point, my dear friend. This mechanism, this nitrogen fixation mechanism, only present in prokaryotic living organism like bacteria or cyanobacteria. Some of the fungal members is also ability to absorb the nutrients from the ability to fix the nitrogen from atmosphere by bacteria and cyanobacteria only. Yaad rakho, this is very, very important. Okay, remember, my dear friends. Then Azotobacter is one of the other free living bacteria. In previous slide, what we discussed, so rhizobium and Azotobacter, rhizobium and azospirillum we have discussed. But here we are discussing in this slide, that is Azotobacter. Azotobacter is visible. Yeah. So Azotobacter Azotobacter is a heterotrophic free living nitrogen fixation bacteria. So these are especially this type of bacteria which is only present in the alkaline nature or alkaline or neutral sites, but not possessing acidic nature, acidic sites. They are present in alkaline or neutral site, but not possessing acidic sites. This Azotobacter crurococcum is the most commonly occurring species in arable soils of India. Very, very important. Okay. So apart from its ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen in soil, it can also synthesize growth promoting substances. Very, very important, my dear friends. So this Azotobacter is also possess growth promoting substance, nothing but phytohormones, you know. Have you ever heard term phytohormones or growth regulators? Auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins. Okay, so like that, this Azotobacter is also synthesized and promoting substances like auxins and gibberellins. So these are the very, very important point related to this Azotobacter microorganism. This Azotobacter is ability to fixation of the nitrogen from atmosphere in a free living manner at the same time, which is promoting the production of the auxins and gibberellins along with some extent of the vitamins also. Some of the vitamin is also produced by this Azotobacter. So compared to rhizobium, compared to azospirillum, azotobacter is very, very important, and which is not associated with any other living organism. Very not leguminaceae, non-leguminaceae members or leguminaceae family members. They are free living microorganisms. They are capable for the fixation of the nitrogen from atmosphere. At the same time, they are synthesized for promoting substances like auxins and gibberellins along with vitamins also. So the many strains of azotobacter is also exhibit fungicidal properties. Very, very important, my dear friends. Some of the fungicidal properties responsible for the causing of different diseases on plants. Okay, some of the fungus is responsible for different diseases like rust disease, smut disease, disease and smut disease. Am I right? Rust and smut disease is caused by fungus. So this azotobacter is also ability to kill the fungus. So that is the important characteristic features which is exhibit that we can that property we can call as fungicidal properties against certain fungus. So this azotobacter also responds be seen in rice, maize, cotton, sugarcane, and pearl millets. Even though some of the vegetative crop plants like tomato and other vegetative crops. So this azotobacter is very, very important for the fixation of the nitrogen. But compared to the other members, see here. So what are the features of azotobacter we are observed here? So this azotobacter contributes to the moderate benefits. At the same time, the azotobacter heaviest breathing organism and requires large amount of organic carbon for its growth. So it is poor competitor for nutrients in soil. Am I right? So it can benefit crops by what we can say that nitrogen fixation, release of the growth promoting substance like auxins and gibberellins. Auxins and gibberellic acids or gibberellins. Okay, and at the same time, the fungicidal properties or fungicidal substances is also we are observed in this azotobacter. So this azotobacter is less effective in soils with poor organic matter content. So what we are observed, it improves seed germination and plant growth. Seed germination and plant growth. How we can say that this azotobacter is improve the seed germination and plant growth? Just because, my dear friends, it releases the growth promoters, So gibberellic acid is responsible for germination of the seeds. It releases it activates the amylase activity. It stimulates, it induces the enzyme like amylase activity of the Gramineae family member seeds. And the auxins is also very, very important for the or cell elongation. So the plant growth and seed germination, which is responsible by this azotobacter. Then Acetobacter. After Azotobacter, Acetobacter is also newly discovered in present scenario for the atmosphere, but it is only related to only the sugarcane crop only, not any other crop plants like in previous Azotobacter and Azospirillum and Rhizobium leguminosum we have discussed, but they are associated with Leguminaceae and non-Leguminaceae, some other plants, crop plants. But Acetobacter is only associated with sugarcane crop only. Okay, so this bacterium belongs to the alpha group of the Proteobacteria. Okay, so it is associated from the sugarcane leaf, sugarcane root, and even though the bud stem of the samples of sugarcane. So this Acetobacter is located apoplastic fluid of the sugarcane stem and to some extent newly xylem basins. Okay, so this Astrobacter is fixed up to 200 kg nitrogen per hectare. So why? Because we are going to discuss here this Astrobacter means whenever we are going to cultivate the sugarcane crop, we have to inoculate or we have to apply this Astrobacter cultures. Okay, then vesicular and arbuscular mycorrhiza, that is nothing but VAM fungi, VAM, vesicular arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. So this this mycorrhiza term is derived from which language? Greek language. Greek language. Okay. So the what is the meaning of this mycorrhiza? Mycorrhiza means fungus is associated with roots of the higher plants. So angiospermic trees or angiospermic plants, roots are associated with the fungi, we can call as mycorrhizae. This term has coined by Frank in 1885. So this it is indicated that mycorrhiza is mutualistic or symbiotic association between the fungal mycelia and higher plant roots. See here, this is a root of the plants. These fungi is associated with, if the fungi is associated with the surface of the root, so that external in nature, that mycorrhiza we can call as SM fungi, SM, sheathing mycorrhizal fungi. But whereas we are going to discuss here, we are discussing here, that is VAM. VAM means vesicular fungi, which is inoculated or inserted into the internal part of the root, from cortex region to the stela region. So which is produced the vesicle structures, the tubular structures. So these vesicles is associated with this fungi. So that we can call it, that fungi we can call as VAM fungi, vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza fungi. So this VAM is an endotrophic, like inside the mycorrhizal formed by septate Phycomystus fungi. Okay, according to Ainsworth classification, especially Phycomystus fungi is associated with the roots. So that we can call as VAM fungi. So this VAM help nutrient transfer mainly of phosphorus, zinc and sulfur. Phosphorus, sulfur and zinc. So these are the nutrients transferred by these VAM fungi. So they are also mobilize different nutrients like copper, potassium, aluminium, manganese and iron, magnesium also. Okay, from soil to root plants or plant roots. From soil to roots. So they possess vesicles, cyclic structures for storage of nutrients and arbuscular for funneling them into root system. So mechanism of action of this VAM fungi, the VAM forms and associated with the plant roots, it is penetrates into the root cortex and spread around the roots of the plants. So the name indicates that they possess a sac-like or vesicle-like structure called vesicles, which stores the phosphorus as phospholipids. So this phosphorus is stored like phospholipids. The other structure called arbuscles. So this helps bringing the distant nutrients to the vesicles and roots. Then what is the action of this mycorrhiza? This mycorrhiza is enhance the feeding area of the plant root, is the hypase, spreads around the roots and mobilizes the nutrients from distant roots, and which stores the nutrient species like phosphorus and removes the, very, very important, my dear friends, this VAM is capable for a removal of the toxic, okay, phenolics. So this phenolic compounds is very, very dangerous to the, or very, very harmful to the DNA, especially the DNA or the chromosomal areas. Okay, so provide the protection against the other fungi and nematodes also. So this VAM fungi is also able to protect from nematodes. Then, so methods of biofertilizers inoculation. So we are using of the seed inoculation, by the application of the soil application, and even though the self inoculation or tuber inoculation also we are using. And what are the advantages? I'm not going to discuss about the inoculation, but we will going to discuss about the what are the advantages of these biofertilizers and what are the disadvantages of these biofertilizers. So mainly the advantages. So we are studying the both the consequences are the both sides of the coin. You know, so one side that is advantages, the second one is disadvantages. In these advantages, the biofertilizers, they form an important association with other soil microbes and help in nutrient supply. It fixes atmospheric nitrogen also from the nitrogen molecular state to usable forms of the nitrites, nitrates, and ammonia like that. Nitrites, nitrates, and ammonia like that. So it is increase the availability or uptake of nutrients through solubilization or increased absorption. So it is nothing but insoluble phosphorus into soluble phosphorus form. And also it stimulates the plant growth. Why we can say that? Just because of the plant growth regulators like auxins and gibberellins, they are hormones, or also even the antibiotics, some of the vitamins also they are induced or the produced in the plants. And they are cheap, they are very cheaper, and hence reduce the cost of the cultivation. So the present farmer very low cost or the decrease of the cost effect. So the reduced cost effect for the cultivation of the different crops, and the improves the soil properties. So in the area of the soil health also, the biofertilizers are very, very important. And they are compatible with long-term sustainability, not only by the immediate effect, but also these biofertilizers, they are the impact of these biofertilizers, not it is long-term utility. And the build of soil fertility in the long term, not shorter, long term. And these biofertilizers are eco-friendly and pose no damage to the environment. So sustainable environment, agriculture. So these biofertilizers are very, very in present scenario or in present context, in the lost and use of the chemicals like pesticides, insecticides, fungicides, bactericides, some other chemicals we are knowingly or unknowingly our farmers they are applying or they are using or they are spraying on the crop plants. But in this scenario, along with these chemicals, the chemical fertilizers is also very harmful to the plants. So that's why in this context, biofertilizers are the very, very suitable for the long term, not for short term. And it is also in the context of the soil health, these biofertilizers are very, very important. So for the sustainable environment, for the sustainable natural resources, these biofertilizers are very useful. And what are the other side of the coin of the usable of these biofertilizers? They are nothing but disadvantages. So compared to disadvantages, advantages are more. But along with these advantages, disadvantage also we are observed. So what are the disadvantages of these biofertilizers? Mainly, these biofertilizers, there is no harmful impact of biofertilizers if it is used when it is used properly, some constraints. Okay, there are no harmful impacts of these biofertilizers when they are proper utilization or proper awareness. And the second disadvantages is the specific to the plants, some of the biofertilizers are specific to the plants only. For example, Rhizobium species. So Rhizobium leguminosaurum bacterium, they are specialized for only leguminous plants only. Am I right? So this culture does not work well in high nitrate tolerant strains of the soya bean and some other crop plants. The third one is the acceptability of the biofertilizers has been rather low, chiefly because they do not produce quick and a spectacular response. Compared to chemical fertilizers, these biofertilizers are slowly production. The production is very slowly. So we required huge amount of the fertilizers. These biofertilizers is not able to easy accessible or easily available. Then the preparation of the biofertilizers is also required skills. The production of the biofertilizers is also necessary for the skill oriented persons, or skilled labor needed or necessary. Even though whenever we are applied to our crop plants, is also skills are important. The skills are necessary. The skilled labor is important. But nowadays, the majority of the farmers, they are illiterates. They don't aware about the biofertilizers, even though they are not aware about how to apply in the crop plants. So these are the some of the disadvantages. Along with so chemical fertilizers, we are easily stored in different places, whether the cold regions or colder regions are in the normal temperature. Whereas the biofertilizers is not able to store long periods, long term. So it is immediately, whenever the biofertilizers are formed, then automatically after preparation of the biofertilizers, within a stipulated time, definitely we are utilized. Otherwise, it will going to lapse or it will going to expire. So compared to chemical fertilizers, the biofertilizers have expiry dates. So that's why we are use immediate whenever we are produced or whenever we are prepared of the biofertilizers. So that's why the storage of the biofertilizers is also difficult, and skilled laborers in present scenario, they are not available. Even though the acceptability and the biofertilizers has been rather low, cheaply, and they do not produce quick, so they are very slowly production. The production is very to the biofertilizers, there is no harmful impact, but properly utilizing of these biofertilizers. So these are the disadvantages when we are applied. So compared to advantages, compared to disadvantages, we must think about the biofertilizers in the present scenario. Why? Because we are thinking about these biofertilizers in the present scenario. The huge mutations has occurred. These mutations, these genetic mutations is very dangerous to the congenital disease, and also it will impact in the human life. So that's why in present generation, organic farming, not chemical fertilizers, not used by the chemical fertilizers, not used by the pesticides or other chemicals. Just we are using biopesticides, just we are using biofertilizers, organic. They are think about present scenario. Our people, or our scientists, our environmentalists, they think about the biofertilizers, not chemical fertilizers. Even though they are thinking about not chemical pesticides, they are thinking about biopesticides, not the chemical pesticides. So we are slowly, not the immediate effect, but we think about this biofertilizers. We definitely aware about these biofertilizers, and also we should aware among the farmers for the croplands, for our sustainable development, should be take the responsibility and aware or spread over the awareness about the biofertilizers in this present scenario. And my dear friends, remember the making of the biofertilizer, the production of the biofertilizers is also very easy compared to illiterate people. We know aware about the biofertilizers. Just we are simply by preparing of these biofertilizers is very easy. In paddy field, we are inoculate the azolla. So now the azolla, we are making the pond or making the tank in our area of our greenhouse or in our a small area of our college, our institutions. Just we are bring the tank and the filled with water, and we have to inoculate the pinch of the azolla. So the azolla is very growing very rapidly, and it fixes the nitrogen from the atmosphere. So that's why biofertilizers is one of the most important task for the present scenario. That is leads to the organic farming, and also that is leads to the sustainable agriculture. So sustainable agriculture is necessary in this present context. If without the sustainable agriculture, if without this organic farming, we are facing lots of problems by using of this pesticide, by using of this chemical fertilizers, by using of these different chemicals. So my dear friends, just not only this is for the for the class purpose, not only but this class purpose, not only in our botany purpose, biofertilizers in our future generations also. The awareness or the information, the knowledge about these biofertilizers, not only for us but also in future generations, it will definitely on the future generations. So that's why biofertilizers is one of the most important area. Okay, if you have any doubt, please ask me. Have any doubts?
No, sir.
I hope you enjoy today's
No,
class.
sir.
Yes,
I
sir.
hope you enjoy.
Yes,
I
sir.
hope you enjoy today's class.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Amma. Thank you very much, Madam
Thank you,
Ji.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.